Hi, I'm Joe. This is David.
Oh no.
Oh, I'm not with my brother this time. He's actually behind the camera. I'm going to be talking about a video game this time around and not a movie. And so my brother will be behind the camera asking me questions about Tomb Raider, the definitive edition. I bought it on a Monday and the game came out, or the movie came out on a Thursday. I actually beat it before the movie came out. And then I liked the movie, and I went and picked up the sequel because I found out they made one.
Just keep all those on your lap.
I always keep them on my lap, David.
Yeah.
Always. I have a sad life.
All right. So, what did you think of the visuals for each game?
Well, both of the games are really stunning. Since the game came out in 2014, for some reason I didn't think they would have such good graphics. I didn't watch much of the reviews or gameplay before I bought the game, and it just looks awesome. Lara herself looks great, and she looks beat up and gruesome. I mean, the game's not pretty, per se. Everything's dark and gloomy and rainy all the time, but it just looks awesome. Like, you could see the cuts and scars on her body in some of the close-up cutscenes, and just the work that they did on her face, it just looks really good. In the sequel, for some reason, she doesn't really get too beat up. She goes through the same things she does in the first one, falling from like hundreds of feet in the air and landing straight on dirt. But they don't really show that. It's weird, they almost keep her perfect throughout the game. Her clothes get a little messed up, I guess, but overall, I thought it looked awesome.
Okay. How would you say the visuals were in the movie?
The visuals in the movie are somewhat of the same. I mean, it's not a pretty movie either, but it looked really good. I feel like the budget wasn't as high as they wanted it to be, and it wasn't as high as I wanted it to be. I feel like if they had a little more money, it could have looked a little better. Some of the CGI was a little wonky, but other than that, it looked pretty good. And all the actors did a great job in what they were doing, so it added to it.
Okay. What do you think of the story of each of the games?
The story in the first game was pretty straightforward and simple. It's Lara Croft starting her journey. This is an origin story. So it's her going out to this dangerous island that her dad was researching for some reason. I don't want to spoil anything, but he's researching something and he got very close to finding out what he was trying to find out, and then he disappears or dies. So she goes to this island with a group of people that want to find this thing, and they go out looking for it. But when she arrives on the island, her ship shipwrecks, and these people are on the island, and they kidnap her, and they tie her up, and it starts her adventure. She's trying to get off this island, but something's not letting her leave, and I thought it was serviceable. Like, it worked for this kind of game. I really liked it. In the second game, the story's a little better this time around. The antagonist is more developed, and he's a little more scary and more involved with the story than in the first one. The first one didn't really have a villain until like halfway through the game. The second one I thought did a little bit better job in the story department.
What do you feel like the stories were about? Like, what's the heart of the story?
Well, I felt like the first one was Lara becoming the Tomb Raider. And at first, she doesn't really... Well, she seeks adventure, but she doesn't seek this kind of adventure. She doesn't want to fight or anything. She's just, she wants to look out for artifacts and these really cool mysteries. And she goes out looking for something, and in the end, she turns into this like cold-hearted killer. And she just wants more and more adventure. Now she's out looking for this type of thing. And in the second game, that's exactly what she does. She goes out looking for adventure, and now she's ready to kill. Like, she doesn't care. The first sign of like bad guys she sees, she's ready. Pulls out her guns and just goes at it. So the second game, I feel like it's her continuing her story and her trying to forgive herself for what happened to her father, even though it wasn't really her fault.
Okay. How would you compare that to the movie?
Well, the movie, it takes inspiration from the first game, but it doesn't really follow the exact story as the first game. They tweak a whole bunch of stuff. They take full creative control over this movie. They have aspects from the game. The same villain is the same villain from the game, or at least has the same name. There's a couple characters that have the same name, and it's still about her getting to this island, and then there's a whole bunch of people there, and she's got to get off. And she's got to do whatever she can to survive. The same theme is there, but they change a lot. But I still think it worked.
Okay. What do you think about the gameplay?
The gameplay is, I think, where this game really shines. I didn't know exactly what the gameplay was going to be like, and it's kind of like if you take the Uncharted series and Last of Us, which both games that I really loved. I didn't play the Uncharted games until recently. I bought the collector's edition, which is on the PS4, and you should go pick it up if you haven't, because it's awesome. I played through all 3 of those games, and got the 4th one and beat that one, and it's the same thing. It's a third-person, like cover-based shooter slash like 3D platformer. So you have like your 4 guns. You got like a bow, a pistol, a shotgun, and an assault rifle, and that's it. And you go out and you take cover. You can throw stuff. You can make different kinds of arrows, and her mobility is really nice. She can hide from enemies, and when you're platforming, she's got this pickaxe that she uses to climb stuff with. And I love that in this game you actually have to click a button to use her pickaxe. She doesn't just automatically pull it out and grab onto something. When you jump and see something you can grab onto, you got to click the right button so that she grabs onto it. And there's these amazing action set pieces that you have to run through, like the Uncharted series, where you're running out of a building that's on fire, and you got to jump at the right times and click the right buttons, make the right turns to get out. And it's really awesome that way. There's very little downtime in the first game. It's just moving you from one place to the next, which I loved. It was very linear, and each section of the game was different than the last section. So it would be like, you're on an island, but you're in a forest area, which you expect for the whole game. And this forest area has some cabins that you can traverse through. And then you fall into a cave. And then you're in a cave for the next section. And then you're in a tomb, and it just keeps going, like different weather. And it's really good. The second game, they introduce a little more of an open world-esque type of thing. It's pretty optional. The story is easy to make it linear. If you want to go from mission to mission and just keep going, it makes it very easy to do that. But if you want to, you can talk to some of the NPCs and get some side quests. And the side quests in this game, some of them seem like average side quests that you'd get from any other game, where it's, can you collect some of these things because I want them. I know you're trying to save the world, but can you go collect some of these trinkets? And you can go out there and try to collect these trinkets if you want. But some of them, it's like, can you help me find my grandpa? He was out looking for a witch. And you go do that, and a little side story starts unraveling, and that's pretty cool. But yeah, I like both of the gameplays in each one.
Which one would you say was better as far as gameplay?
Gameplay-wise, I think the second one has better gameplay just because they introduce more stuff. They introduce a grapple hook type thing, which any game that introduces a grapple hook is awesome because you can be running from enemies and then jump and you throw it out, you can swing on it, and now she has 2 pickaxes. Double the fun, I mean, because you can hit people with the pickaxe, and now you have 2, so you can hit people with both of them. You can make different types of arrows in this one, specifically the poison arrow, which was so awesome. I think the second game might be a little easier than the first game. I played the first game on its normal difficulty, and that provided enough of a challenge towards later game. The second game, I played it on the second hardest difficulty, just because I wanted to see what it was like. I figured I could change the difficulty back to normal if it got too hard, but it didn't get too hard. You just use the poison arrows, and then that's it.
All right, so how would you compare that to the gameplay of the movie?
Okay, well, when I was playing the movie, it was very linear. They don't let you control anything.
Okay, what about the difficulty in the movie? Did you get stuck during any parts, or?
Actually, it wasn't difficult to get through the movie. The movie is actually really well paced, also, like the games, but don't expect it to keep... Well, actually, yeah, it kind of does keep shoveling you to the next area, But for the first like 20 to 30 minutes of the movie, you're not even on the island that's in the game. So just putting that out there. Don't expect to immediately rush into the action.
Okay. And then, let's see, what was I about to ask? Oh, yeah. Okay. So, should you play both the games and then see the movie, or see the movie and then play the games?
See, this was a decision I came up with on my own to just beat the game before the movie came out. Nobody really told me that I should do that. But when I found out, the movie was inspired by the game, I wanted to beat the game before I saw the movie because I thought that would really affect it. And I want to say it almost does. Like, it doesn't follow the exact story as the game, but I feel like I liked the movie more just have played the game. Because when they say a couple names, I get kind of excited. And when she uses a pickaxe, I get excited because the whole game you use this pickaxe. And I don't think you have to play the second game to see the movie, but there are a few characters introduced in the second game that the movie takes, which is interesting because it's almost like the movie, it takes bits from the first game and second game and molds them into one. They don't use the story of the second game, but they use some of the characters and some of the elements in the movie. But you don't really need to know those. It's almost better to do it in the order I did it in and play the first game and beat it, go see the movie, and then play the second game. Because once you play the game, you want more Tomb Raider immediately. So then you go see the movie, and then you still want more Tomb Raider, then you can play the second game. Now I still want more Tomb Raider, but I'll have to wait a little bit.
All right. If you can experience only one, which game or would you see the movie?
See, that's really tough. If it's only one, I feel like you should play this one. Play the definitive edition, just because it's her. Well, it kind of depends on the kind of person you are. I don't think you should watch the movie over either of the two games, just because the movie's it's good, but it's not. You won't get as much out of it as you will the games. But it depends on what kind of person you are. If you don't care about Lara's origin edition or her origin story, and you only care about gameplay and like open world action fun, then you can play the second game and just the second game. But if you actually care or want to care about this character, then you should play the first game and just that one if you can only pick one.
All right. What would you rate each one?
Scale. Out of 10.
Out of 10? 10? I was going to say our scale of 1 to 6.
Our 1 to 6?
Yeah.
Okay. On our scale of 1 to 6, and I'm going to rate this as compared to other video games, I would give the first Tomb Raider. Man, it's tough.
Not the first Tomb Raider.
Oh, well, not the first Tomb Raider. The first in this new series of Tomb Raider that they're doing, this reimagined version of Lara Croft. I want to give it a 6 out of 6, but the second one, it improves a little bit. So I'm gonna say a 5.5 out of 6 for the first game, because I didn't really have any problems with it. It's a short enough game. It's just the story's good, and it just keeps shoveling you to the next area. Each new area, they give you new weapons and tools. It's everything I want from a video game. I want to feel the way I felt playing this game when I play other games. It's the same feeling I got when I played Uncharted, and I'd probably give Uncharted the same rating. For the second game, I'd probably give it a 6 out of 6, just because they improved on some things. The only things that I kind of didn't like about the game are optional, and they don't in any way force you to do them. They're just some side quests that are kind of annoying, but I just didn't want to do them, so I didn't. So I don't think that ruins my experience at all. They're just some things that I kind of wouldn't want in the game. But other than that, they just improve on everything the first game did. They took it all, did it better, and on a bigger scale. So I think I'd give it a 6 out of 6. The movie, on our scale of 6, I would give it a 3. It's average movie, which I think a 3 out of 6 for a video game movie is like a 6 out of 6. Like that should be, it's a step in the right direction for video game movies. If they look at this movie for future video game movies and say, pick out the few things they did wrong and improve on it, I think this video game movies can finally be really good. So that was my thoughts and reviews for the 3 Tomb Raider things that I've saw and played in the past week. So if you liked this, then give the video a like and maybe subscribe, and maybe next time Dave will be here. Oh. The women's movement of Tomb Raider.